definitely been a sharp learning curve. I guess my first ever show was pretty embarrassing when everything got stuck, and I quickly learned that ribbons on the back of things are really great and zips are fiddly. But the most embarrassing thing, yeah, I'd say there's always that Russian roulette of getting an item hooked, stuck or hitched. And if you can avoid that, you've done your job correctly. I guess I didn't realize I would be breaking so many boundaries and really being an Asian female pioneer in the arts. And of course, being nominated for an Asian Women Achievement Award was phenomenal. And being invited to Buckingham Palace was just, it's still surreal. I'm still pinching myself. But I think I really understood at that point the responsibility I had to be a good role model for young Singaporeans, both women and men, because there's such a thing as burlesque, but also in general as well. That really, when you start to realize that your work is being appreciated and acknowledged in popular culture, I feel like you have a responsibility to be the best role model you can be. Yeah, misconceptions in burlesque still exist, and they are, I don't know, they're slowly being dispelled, all the myths. But I think the most typical one is that this is some kind of seedy, raunchy activity. Yes, it's sensual, it celebrates the female form, but it's by women for women. And of course I have male and female audiences, but in a lot of my shows, it may surprise people to know that about 80% of my audiences are females. So girls or couples come to my shows and love to dress up in the style of burlesque with me. Sexy for me in burlesque is all about feeling sexy for no one else but yourself. It's a dance form that's by women for women. So it's really about sort of making the most of your form and feeling great in lingerie just for you. Because I believe that when a woman feels confident and she smiles, there's nothing more that exudes sexiness than a confident woman. Coming back to Singapore is something that's really special. After legalizing burlesque just this year, my first performance on the 31st of January was an extremely emotional one at Clifford Pier. It just felt like, I know it sounds corny, but in this year of SG50, we really were celebrating homegrown artists and art and being extremely progressive and being ready for progressive art forms as well. When I realized that I was the first Singaporean woman to do burlesque, I then realized that there were no influences before me to kind of take note from the style or the performance or what Singaporean burlesque would look like. And so a lot of it has been my free roam to be able to kind of create an identity for myself. Of course, there's the name, which I purposefully chose Singapora as a kind of tongue-in-cheek way to really show the international scene that, hey, you know, this is what Singaporean burlesque is all about. And also I've woven into performances my cultural heritage. For example, in all of my acts, there will be an element of sari material woven in. Or for this performance at the F1, the Boudoire Noir event, the costume's covered in 20,000 hand-placed Swarovski crystals, which has taken 2 years to place, hand-placed by myself, but they're in the design of henna. So wedding henna. So I've really woven in important aspects into our culture because I think it's not just about me and my performance and necessarily my taste, although of course I've gotten away with blue, but it's also about representing what Singapore or what Indian Singaporeans especially, even more rare breed as a role model, are all about. I'm really excited to be headlining the F1 after parties for Boudoire Noir Presents the Box. To expect is the first ever giant 7-foot illuminated diamond ring, which lights up, and then on top of that is a giant diamond which I will be performing inside, of course filled with Taittinger champagne, of course, and that will be that is actually being flown in here on its own little plane, especially for the Grand Prix. It's the first time that act will have ever been performed in Asia. The first time, of course, and the biggest of my routines ever in Singapore. And yeah, considering I'm the first burlesque artist to ever headline the Grand Prix after parties, we're going to expect a huge performance from myself and my co-performers at the box. When I got into burlesque, I was obviously in this generation. We see everything online, and so we don't really necessarily kind of like see cultural geography or politics. I still feel like I'm learning, having only done burlesque for 4.5 years, so it's kind of crazy to think how far I've come, I guess. So I think what makes a great burlesque performer is just learning and appreciating your own body confidence, being comfortable in your own skin and feeling sexy for yourself. I think another great part of it is just, you know, you don't have to be super svelte or you don't have to have super curves. It's all about all shapes go, all sizes go, and all ages go. In fact, I think when I was performing at the Burlesque Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, there was a 94-year-old burlesque performer who was still shaking her stuff on stage. So yeah, never say you're too old. So I'd say if you wanted to get into burlesque, there are loads of local dance companies that offer burlesque style classes. That's a great way to ease yourself into it. And then of course feel free to approach figures like myself or the tutors there, and I think learn the body confidence, go for those workshops, really just throw yourself into it. There are no rules with burlesque and you don't have to be the best dancer. You know, a smile goes a mile, so just throw yourself in there and just give it a go. Because of course I had no training, I taught myself off of YouTube and I'm like the dorkiest person I know, so if I can do it, you guys can do it, for sure. And it's not just for women, it's also for men. Hi, I'm Sukki Singapora for insing.com, and you can catch my headline burlesque performance at the F1 Grand Prix after parties for Boudoire Noir presents The Box this September. Make sure you come and see me.